Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity Center of Pittsburgh. I'm Robin Walsh. I'll be your facilitator this morning. Maryann Hackworth is the speaker, and we have Lucy Clabby and Bryce Rabideau as our musicians. Yay. Please join me in this beautiful morning reading with me, affirming with me our vision and mission statement. We envision a spiritually awakened world flowing with divine love. We are an inclusive, loving, growing community dedicated to teach, inspire, and practice positive spiritual living. And let's carry that thought into our first song.
If you want to stand and join us, feel free. Want to move and shake? We're going to sing Stayed on Spirit. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. All day long I keep my mind stayed on spirit. All day long I keep my mind stayed on spirit. All day long I keep my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. You ought to wake up in the morning with your mind stayed on spirit. You ought to wake up in the morning with your mind stayed on spirit. You ought to wake up in the morning with your mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And take a moment here for some opening prayer, closing your eyes and centering in. With our first breath, releasing everything we don't need in this moment, right here, right now. With our next breath, acknowledging with gratitude the great wealth of abundance and magnificence we have in this moment. We are sharing with each other and with all of creation. And with our next breath, opening to what we do not even fathom yet. Beauty, creativity, new possibility, the wealth of which we cannot yet imagine, and so it is. Now let's have another song.
If you'd like to stand again, feel free. Those of you at home, feel free to sing along with us. We're going to sing In the Garden. I come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the rose. me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, no other has ever known. He speaks, and the sound of his voice is so sweet, the birds hush their singing, and the melody that he gave to me within my heart is ringing. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, no other has ever known. I'd stay in the garden with him, though the night around me be falling. He bids me go through the voice of woe, his voice to me is calling. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, no other has ever known. Thanks, everybody.
Now it's time to light our Christ candle, reminding us to trust the light within. And if you would join me in reading our unity principles. God is the source and creator of all. There is no other enduring power. God is present and good everywhere. We are spiritual beings created in God's image. The Spirit of God lives within each person. Therefore, all people are inherently good. We create our life experiences through our way of thinking. Through prayer and meditation, we increase our conscious contact with God, bringing forth love, wisdom, health, prosperity, and everything good. Knowledge of these spiritual principles is not enough. We must live them. And so it is. And so we do. Another song, yay.
Once again, feel free to join us. Feel free to move if you feel so moved. We're going to sing health, wholeness, and happiness. Health, wholeness, and happiness. Health, wholeness, and happiness. Praise the good and raise the world with health,
Thank you. Now, Jan Kalin is going to come up, read our daily word, and do our blessing for the children.
Thank you, Robin. So today, our daily word is free. Living from my Christ nature sets me free. As a spiritual being, I am always free. I remember this at those moments I feel at the mercy of an unpredictable world. While I may not be able to control what happens around me, I take comfort knowing I don't need to. I am free to choose my response, but even more, I am free to meet life from my divinity, the breadth of my spiritual power. In prayer, I claim divine ideas. I use my gift of imagination to envision the life I wish to live, and the gift of will to make choices to bring it about. I speak affirmations to raise my consciousness and help create conditions for my highest and best outcomes to manifest. I find precious freedom, realizing that life doesn't happen to me, life happens through me. And from John, so if the Son, S-O-N, makes you free, you will be free indeed. And now I invite you to join me to repeat our affirmation 3 times. Living from my Christ nature sets me free. Living from my Christ nature sets me free. Living from my Christ nature sets me free. And now, it's time to bless our children. Bring into your mind the children in your lives, family and friends. Hold in your heart the children you know and love, and expand that love to children everywhere. May all children be free to live their own true spiritual natures, full of imagination, creativity, and love. May they know how important they are to our world, and may they always be loved and nurtured as their true spiritual selves. We recognize and honor children everywhere. We send our light and love to all children. We send our blessing to all children of the world and see them as the true light of God. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. And now, let's have our prayer practice. Anything you want to particularly bring into prayer, into blessing, into sharing, bring those things into your mind now. Remembering to trust the light within. Remembering the infinite creative capacity everywhere evident in the universe and the burgeoning galaxies. Remembering the soft green earth beneath your feet and the many lights of God in the world around you now. Bring those prayerful intentions close to the light of your spirit with faith in creative power, in universal energy, in love. in sharing, in the wisdom of the ages. Imagine hands linking across the world in a web of light and love. Capable of all things. And gently release all concerns, all desires, softly to land in this beautiful net. And let's give thanks for this with a song.
This day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for this health, Spirit, thank you for my health. Thank you for my health, Spirit, thank you for my health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. Thank you for my life, Spirit, thank you for my life. Thank you for my life, Spirit, thank you for my life. My glorious, my glorious, my glorious life. My glorious, my glorious, my glorious life. Thank you for my wealth, Spirit, thank you for my wealth. Thank you for my wealth, Spirit, thank you for my wealth. My opulent, my opulent, my opulent wealth. My opulent, my opulent, my opulent wealth. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day.
Thank you. And now for our meditation today, I thought we'd do some, it's called Polyvagal Humming. So it's something that yokes mind, body, and spirit together. It's been shown to have a very calming effect on you. Stress, whether you realize it or not, can actually shorten the back of your cervical spine, like it does if you're having a fight or flight reaction, and the blood flow actually can be restricted to certain parts of your brain and body that help you stay calm, think clearly, and function well in the world. And this polyvagal nerve, resetting it is key to allowing that blood flow to open up again. Isn't that fascinating? They're doing all sorts of wonderful research on it. But here's a simple exercise that can help you reset that, whether you're having stress or not. All you do simply is you can have one hand either on your heart or your belly, so you're grounding yourself in your body, and another one, open palm, maybe on your lap, a knee, a leg. And you're just going to very quietly be humming to yourself for 3 minutes. I'll time you, and I might be giving you some suggestions on what to imagine while you do this, which really isn't part of the polyvagal theory, but I'm adding a little more spirituality in there. So go ahead and begin now. Close your eyes and gently start to hum to yourself. Just very quiet, very easy, soothing, feeling yourself, feeling your leg underneath one palm. So your palm's turned over on your leg so you can actually feel your thigh beneath it. And as you feel this gentle vibration in your own body, in your own space, I want to remind you that we're made up of atoms, which are in fact 99.999% empty space. And as you feel this vibration continue, imagine that it is loosening any stuck places in your muscles, in your thoughts, in your emotional responses, and allowing you to return to your natural space of spaciousness and vibration. There are vast fields between the electron and the proton. Just everything melting and returning to vibration and potential. Calm, connected, energetically the same as the green trees and the deep earth, energetically able to communicate with all other energy anywhere and everywhere in existence for all eternity. Energy never dies. It is always everywhere present. It just changes its outward manifestation. Continue to vibrate and hum and let yourself grow spacious and let everything melt away. All stuck places release. Nothing but the calming hum and connection of the energy that you are at your core. Just another moment. And keeping your eyes closed, you can let that hum go, and very gently before you open your eyes with your hands, just run them easily over your body, feeling your skin, your arms, your head, your belly, whatever of your back and your legs, your feet, anything you can touch. Coming back for this moment inside your own body. You may yawn as your throat opens. Hopefully you feel grounded and comfortable in this place. And take your time coming back to the room. We're going to have a solo from our fabulous musicians for you to enjoy.
Thank you for that. This is a song that actually something you said during prayer, Robin, was to imagine hands reaching out and touching each other. And that is the feeling that I find in this song, which was written in 2020 and recorded remotely with a bunch of different singers from all over the world. So we wanted to share that with you all today. It's called Together. All of the people of all of the earth, each with a piece of all of this hurt. Some take it in, some give it away, among other things that I can't explain. Childlike wonders that wither and flicker and fade. But when we're together, opening heart, it doesn't matter that all falls apart. When we're together, there lies the art. We'll make it better when it falls apart. Will it always fall apart? All of the people of all of the earth, each with a reason, a heart, and a worth. Some devastate when you're in their way and dig themselves deeper in hopes that you'll stay. Childlike blunders that cover up feeling afraid. But when we're together, wandering soul, we'll build a ladder and climb out of that hole. When we're together, our only goal is to make it better when it all unfolds. For it always will unfold. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. That's wonderful, as always. Now, Maryann's going to come up and talk to us about freedom from bondage. Maryann.
Good morning. What a beautiful song that was, Lucy and Bryce. Thank you so much. So inspiring to remember we're all in this together. So happy 4th of July weekend. We're together here this morning, and the title, Freedom from Bondage. I decided this morning to bring forth this message to celebrate this holiday weekend of Independence Day. Independence, for me, brings up the inspired way that New Thought, spiritual philosophy, which is what unity is, allows each and every one of us to think independently, allows us to be the creators of our reality based on, as our unity principle teaches us, our thoughts, and the thoughts that we hold in mind, the words that we use, create our outer reality. That is the independence that we all possess, that we are, actually. And I was inspired by this because of several reasons. I read a quote by Viktor Frankl. You may have heard of Viktor Frankl, a philosopher, a psychologist, a Holocaust survivor. And he said this: "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." Such an inspired truth from a man who suffered greatly. So I would like to, this morning, bring this word of independence to you. And I was also inspired in my metaphysics class a couple of years ago, taking it online. The teacher, Reverend Pat Venema, she shared with us something called the Allegory of the Cave. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Allegory of the Cave, it was written in the year 380 BC. So we're talking 2,500 years ago, by a man named Plato. Now, Plato was the student of Socrates. Socrates was a stonecutter by trade, but he was a philosopher. And so he started to express his truths. He discovered the truth within himself and began to talk of it, much like Jesus. And so those were drawn to him. Students were drawn to him, and Plato, one of his most famous students, went on to write something called the Republic. The Republic was a series of dialogues, and philosophers today, they think that perhaps some of the voice that comes through Plato was the voice of Socrates. This Allegory of the Cave is one chapter, a short chapter within the Republic. So I'd like to share this with you, and the reason I'm doing so is because it is an allegory. And an allegory is a story that allows us to interpret deep meaning. And I'm reminded of Jesus speaking in parables, stories that he told so that each of the listeners could draw the truth from that story and apply it to themselves. And we at Unity see Jesus in that way, right? He is our elder brother, so to speak, or our teacher. So the Allegory of the Cave, let's see, we're going to have a little short video. So I want to tell you something. This is an adaptation done in claymation. Have you ever heard of claymation? So it's 3 minutes long. And again, Reverend Pat Venema, she showed this to us in our metaphysics class. So I'm asking you to look at this 3-minute video, and then we'll go into our discussion. Mac, can you roll that for us on the screen?
Imagine prisoners that have spent their entire lives chained deep inside a cave. They have been chained so that they cannot see behind themselves, and they are forced to stare endlessly at the cave wall in front of them. Behind them, a fire is burning, and between the prisoners and the fire is a raised walkway. Now imagine that each day A menagerie of objects crosses the walkway. Animals and people carrying their wares to market. Their shapes create an intricate shadow play on the wall in front of the prisoners. This is the only world that the prisoners have ever known. The shadows and the echoes of unseen objects. Now, imagine that a prisoner is released. After some time adjusting to the blinding light, the freed prisoner will begin to experience the world outside of the cave for the very first time. And it is like nothing he could have ever imagined. With his new perception of the world, the man will of course want to return to his friends to share his incredible discoveries. But the prisoners cannot recognize their old friend. He appears as all things do. His voice is a distorted echo, and his body is a grotesque shadow. They cannot understand his fantastic stories of the world outside of the cave. To them, it will never exist. This, of course, does not make the world outside of the cave any less real.
Thank you so much, Mac, for putting that on for us. So, as you know, this is, as I explained earlier, it's an adaptation, clearly, done in clay, but I would like to now explore the allegory, the allegorical implications of the characters in this story. As you might imagine, the prisoners are us, humanity. We are those prisoners who have been chained. According to Plato, these prisoners have been placed in chains and have been held in bondage since their birth. And they are down in the base of a cave. So you notice in this story, there are two locations of existence. The base of the cave is the sense world, the physical world, the world that we have attached so much meaning to. It's the world of conventional wisdom. It's also the world of ignorance. And then at the end of the story, as you remember, when the prisoner is released, we'll get into that, he rises up and goes into another experience outside of that ignorance, right? The world of truth. As Charles Fillmore, the founder of Unity, might have called it, the world of divine ideas, truth ideas and truth principles, right? But let's go to these prisoners and think about it for a minute. If these prisoners represent us, they're bound in chains and they've been held there and they're watching shadows on the wall. And as Plato describes these prisoners, what they're doing as they're watching shadows on the wall is they name things. They're naming them. It reminds me of Eckhart Tolle's teaching of mindfulness, of being able to walk into the world and not have to place a name on everything, not have to claim it as good or bad, or up or down or evil. Or as Rumi said, there's a place that exists beyond the world of ideas. It is that field that we go to that doesn't have a name. It's the place of stillness. But these prisoners don't know it because all they've ever seen and reaffirmed is the drama. And I think in my mind, how many times in our world do we assign names to things and describe it and regurgitate it, reiterate it, bring it forth again and again to our fellow prisoners, right? To the rest of humanity. So they're stuck, right? They're naming what they see, and Plato calls this the activity of our intellect or our reason. We're placing names on what we see in front of us. And all of a sudden, there are those who are walking behind. Remember, there was a fire in the back, and every day in Plato's story, images are carried past this fire. Signs in the adaptation, there was camels you could see and people and so forth. In Plato's story, there were also signs, objects, things that were being carried, right? Casting the shadow. And the question comes up as an allegory is, who is carrying the signs? Who are these people traversing back and forth with the signs? So I ask us to think about that, as we did in our class. Who might they be? Well, they could be our parents, who have taught us the things that were planted as seed. They could be teachers that we had at one time. They could be religious leaders that placed ideas and beliefs in our minds. They could be the government. They could be representatives that have certain ideas that they pass back and forth that are shadows that have been put forth for us to witness. They could even be our own thought processes, right? Our own habits that we have, right? They could be the media. Think of the media in our current society and the repetition of information with a certain skew or spin, right? All of these images cast upon the wall that we gaze upon continuously, right? But then all of a sudden, one day in Plato's story, along comes a freer, someone who is going to drag. Now, this is interesting because in the actual story, you saw him being dragged out. He didn't say, yeah, pick me. I want to be freed. Get me out of here. No. In the actual story, it said he was compelled to turn around, forced to turn around, and reluctantly dragged up the steep and narrow slope into the light. Into the light. So it's interesting to think about it in my own life, in your own life. Weren't there times that a crisis pushed you out of your darkness? A low point in your life when you were forced within, so to speak, asking yourself some deeper questions about your own existence or about the reality that you're living in. I think of the pandemic in many ways as being a catalyst for us to drag us up, to pull us, to force us to turn. What the story said, what Plato was saying is that it was hard for the prisoner to turn around. And isn't it hard at times for us to drag ourselves out from that media story, from that repeated negative feedback that we get from pretty much from a constant world around us? It takes strength. And we sometimes need to be dragged out, right, to turn. So this prisoner now gets pulled up. He's dragged out of up this steep and narrow slope into the light. And as Plato said, the light is painful to him. It takes time for his eyes to adjust. And so it takes time for us, doesn't it? It takes time, as Charles Fillmore even said, it takes time in the silence. Time for us to commune with the divine nature within us, for us then to adjust and to go deeper and more fully into our own nature. It takes time. Sometimes it's a repeated practice, isn't it? We fall back into staring at that same image or reliving that same fear. You've all heard the acronym for fear, right? False evidence appearing real. When we fall back into an idea that we're separate from God, a separation from Source, we fall into fear, thoughts of fear. Perhaps they were planted in our minds by someone that we trusted at one time. And now we must turn and adjust our eyes to the light. We have to wake up again and again and again. And so the prisoner initially is sort of staggering around, adjusting his eyesight. And Plato said this. This is a translation of his words. And this is a translation for the light, the sun. Last of all, Plato says, last of all, he will see the sun. This is the prisoner. Not merely reflections of himself in the water. Doesn't that remind you of the words of Paul in Corinthians? For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now we know in part. Then we shall know fully, even as we are fully known. It was interesting that this was written 400 years prior to Paul's writing. Plato said, last of all, he will see the sun, not merely reflections of himself in the water. He will see himself in his own proper place and not in another, and he will contemplate himself as he is. He will see the sun as the thing that gives the seasons of the years and is the cause of everything that is. That's a pretty profound spiritual teaching. I'm always amazed, aren't you amazed, that throughout human history, individuals who've been connected in the divine ideas of this creative power that we call God, this omniscient, eternal, omnipresent God, has spoken to each and every one of us. And some have been so inspired to create philosophies or writings, such as the Allegory. So this prisoner is now connected to Source and knows the truth of his divine nature. We know this truth. You and I know the truth. So what do? We run back down to the base of the cave because we got friends down there and they're stuck. They're staring at the wall still, believing in the shadows and the dramas. They're caught in the mesh of what Charles Fillmore would call race consciousness, what we now call sometimes the collective, the negativity. So this guy's like, I got to go down. I got to free these people. I'm going to tell them the truth. So what does he do? He races down to the bottom of the cave. And he says to them, as Plato said, nothing you believe is really true. You have been living a lie. I've seen the light. I've seen the truth. Come, these things that I've seen are nearer to being than the things that you were seeing before. And what did the prisoners say? He's lost his mind. He's crazy. It's interesting, in this adaptation, it didn't show fully what they said. You know what they really said in the Plato's words? Let's kill him. That's what they were saying. That he must be insane. We must destroy him. We must get rid of him. Now, this may be also a reference back to Socrates, because Socrates was a very divisive character. He polarized the teachings of Athens, Greece, in the year 380 or whatever it was. He was put to death. He was executed. He had a one-day trial, and the trial was on something called impiety. Wait a minute, I gotta look it up because it was a word I never knew. Impiety. Impiety is a lack of reverence, especially for God. That's what his trial was on. They had a one-day trial, he was convicted, and he was executed. And so this part of the allegory may be Plato's way of saying that if someone comes and presents truth to you, you may be resistant to that truth. You may push that away. You may say, no, that can't be right. I've been staring at this my whole life. This is what my parents taught me. This is what my teachers taught me. This is what whomever, right? Doesn't make truth any less real. So he wants to free them. He wants to take them out. And their violent way is something that I was asking to myself. This is something I asked. If I take the allegory inside myself and I say, what parts of my old way of thinking sabotage me? Right? What parts of my belief system do I still have on me that hold me down in shackles, so to speak? Do I have belief systems of separation from God? Do I believe that I live in a benevolent world? Do I believe that I am not only having a life, but I am life? Right? Think about it, because sometimes when a word of truth, you may be here today, you may feel something in this service inspired you, something made you awaken even more fully to your own truth. And you'll exit and you'll go out into the world, and along comes the week to follow. There's a likelihood that some other thought system may creep back in. It may be triggered by a story or an interaction with a friend or a colleague or a family member. And I think, what will hold me down? Do I have the courage to go back up into that light? That is the question that we have today, that we're asking on this day of independence. Do we have that courage that when a thought arises, let's say it's a thought of scarcity. That's a very common thought. Not enough, never enough. I don't have enough. I will never have enough, right? How can you have enough? Because they have more than me. That is an integrated thought system that we have to extract, because we know that in the divine mind, wholeness and abundance is truth. And there's evidence of truth, evidence of abundance everywhere you go. Look for it. That's just one tiny example. Wholeness and health is your truth. Look for it. Affirm it. Feel it. Allow yourself to be lifted out of that bondage. I will finish with a beautiful quote from Emilie Cady. Harriet Emilie Cady was an author, one of the first authors for Unity. She wrote a book called Lessons in Truth, and the very first chapter is entitled Bondage or Freedom, which? So she said this: confront the things that are holding you captive and begin dismantling them, not with wishful thinking, but with the principles of truth. I offer that to you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. Happy 4th.
Thank you, Maryann. Always something to think about and to take with me as I walk through my week. And now it's time to bring prosperity more firmly into our thoughts. If you have a tithe with you today, bring it into your hand. If you've already donated online or through a check, just bring the thought into your mind of your giving so we can share that together as we repeat our prayer. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful. And our usher will collect any tithes being offered today, any energy you want to send in with that basket too. Just reminding ourselves it's all part of the cycle of giving and receiving. And we will sing another song, Peace is Flowing Like a River.
Peace is flowing like a river, flowing out of you and me, flowing out into the desert, setting all the captives free. Joy is flowing like a river, flowing out of you and me, flowing out into the desert, setting all the captives free. Love is flowing like a river, flowing out of you and me, flowing out into the desert, setting all the captives free. Hope is flowing like a river, flowing out of you and me, flowing out into the desert, setting all the captives free. Peace is flowing like a river, flowing out of you and me, flowing out into the desert, setting all the captives free.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and if you're watching remotely, there should be a tab to donate online, and we encourage everybody to set up a monthly automatic donation to help us plan our spending and continue to grow. Thank you. Thanks. Now we have some announcements. We have a new membership growth outreach committee. Kenna Raymond, a new board member, and Mike Himaleski. Mike is here. Mike, you want to raise your hand? If anyone has questions or interest, they are looking for people willing to join this committee to bring ideas on how to grow our membership and ways to connect to other spiritual groups and like-minded people. They would love to have you join this creative process. If you're interested, yes. Oh, Matt, could you change the slide for the, thank you. So you can, the phone numbers are up there for both Kenna and Mike. Mike is here, you can talk to him after the service. And again, if you ever forget this, you can always just send an email to unityofpittsburgh@gmail.com and they will forward it to the appropriate people. But we're really excited about some innovative new ways to grow our membership, starting with Doug Knuvin's message at the end of July, the holistic vet. That's not listed on here, but we have a wonderful holistic vet that has studied Edgar Cayce principles, who'll be speaking at the end of the month. Also, White Elephant Bingo that Donna Hemileski, our fundraiser, has been rescheduled. We want to make you aware of that for Saturday, July 16th. It will be here. It's from 6:30 to 9:30. $10 is a suggested donation. You will bring, and Donna is going to walk around. She has a little sign-up sheet with her, or she's already passing it around. If you are interested, you'll bring a white elephant gift in a brown paper bag. It can be anything silly, ridiculous, whatever you want, a yo-yo, some bubbles, anything goes, right? That's part of the fun. The wackier the gift, the better. And a few special prizes will be thrown into the mix. Drinks and snacks will be provided. And when you win bingo, you win one of these wonderful surprise gifts in a brown paper bag that you can play with or take to Goodwill. But email Donna if you're interested. Her email's up there. Donna is here. You can see her in person. She's passing around the registration sheet. Can they just show up in person too if you don't register in advance? Please don't let that keep you away. And again, if you forget any of these emails, you can always get to anybody by sending an email to unityofpittsburgh@gmail.com. Yeah? Yes, Maryann.
Created. So there is a guest speaker coming on July 31st. So we have a lot of stuff happening. So this is really great. So getting the word out and sharing information with friends and family, it's powerful. The more, the better. Doug Knuven is a holistic veterinarian, and he writes for a magazine called Venture Inward. He is a member of the Edgar Cayce Research and Enlightenment Center. And so he wrote an article about healing with divine light. And I read that. Kenna Raymond shared it with me. She is the founder, so to speak, of the Outreach Membership Growth Committee. And so she shared that with me, and we reached out to Doug and asked him to come and provide our message on Sunday, July 31st. It'll be a really enlightening, I think a really enjoyable Sunday service, and we're going to have some fellowship afterwards, light refreshments and everything. So July 31st, if you could put that on your calendar, as well as the White Elephant Bingo. Okay, thank you.
And invite all your animal lover friends. And that's it. And let's join together in our closing prayer. The light of God surrounds me. I am a light. The love of God enfolds me. I am love. The power of God protects me. I am power. The presence of God watches over me. I am presence. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.